guys, welcome to my channel. First video, I thought I'd do it on a relatively unknown helmet, one that I don't think I've seen a video of on YouTube yet, or at least one that goes in depth. So yeah, thought I'd do the US Navy Mark II as my first video. Thanks, and hope you enjoy. So during the Second World War, an issue faced by the US military was how to equip soldiers that use headphones with a helmet, okay, or headsets actually. The US Army Air Force, the USAAF, came out with the Flak Helmet, a design which was initially heavily inspired by the M1 helmet. It had two hinged metal ear flaps and a liner that was pretty much identical to the M1, except it was attached directly to the shell. Now, the flak helmets would see various upgrades throughout the war, while the US Navy decided to go for a much simpler approach and came out with a brand new design altogether that you see here, the Mark II Talker helmet. And unlike the flak helmets, these will not see any change or upgrade throughout the war. So during the war, communication aboard US Navy ships was done by an interior communication system, where microphones and headsets were required for the transmission and receiving of orders and information between different sections of the ship. Now, the sailors who operated these headsets were known as talkers, and the Mark II Talker helmet that you see here was pretty much born out of the necessity to provide these sailors with adequate protection, as the M1 helmet did not fit over their heads when they had their headsets on. Now, this helmet was designed in the studio of a Detroit sculptor called Beaver Edwards, who pretty much came up with this design using a clay model and a putty knife. And production would begin in 1942, and it would see service with the US Navy throughout the Second World War and into the 80s and 90s. In the Life magazine archives, I found an article from the August 10th, 1942 issue that looked at this helmet. So the photos that you see here are from that article and showed the designer, Mr. Edwards, working on a clay model of the helmet that would eventually become the Mark II. Now, the article states that the helmet was designed for use by anti-aircraft gunners aboard ships who needed to receive information through headsets and were in an exposed position, requiring the use of a helmet to protect them from shrapnel and things of that nature. Now, in reality, their use was not limited to just anti-aircraft gunners. Alright, now let's take a look at the helmet itself. Like all Mark IIs, the shell was produced by the McCord Radiator Company and is made out of a non-magnetic manganese steel with a slightly magnetic rim. These helmets were initially produced in the OD green color, pretty much like the M1 helmets, but these early helmets were mostly repainted once they reached the troops, although there are certain photographs, like the one that you see here, of olive drab Mark IIs in use by the US Navy. Since it was intended to be used by the Navy, the paint was quickly switched to a blue-gray paint, the paint that you see on this helmet here, with original documents stating that the deck blue paint, formula number 20-B, was to be used on this type of helmet. Now, this particular helmet has the factory-applied paint that you see here, with a cork texture that is pretty much identical to the M1. In rare instances, these helmets have been documented to have been used by the Marine Corps on land, mostly in their artillery units. Now, these helmets either retained or were repainted into olive drab. But Marine Corps Mark IIs are few and far between, and most of the early production helmets were repainted, meaning that olive drab Mark IIs are actually quite rare and tend to command a pretty hefty premium over these normal blue-gray ones. Something to be aware of here, some European navies also adopted this helmet design after the war, with the West German Navy, or the Bundesmarine, being one of them. Now, they produced a green-colored helmet that was nearly identical to the Mark II with pretty much the same shell, same liner, same chin strap design, except the main difference is that the chin strap on the West German one was made of canvas and not leather. But these post-war helmets have been and probably still will be passed off as the rare USMC Mark II target helmet or early production olive drab Mark II helmet. So make sure you know the differences if you're looking for an original, and don't get burned. Now, the chin strap on this helmet is of a very simple design that you see here. One piece of leather directly across with two aluminum buckles, one on either side, for the adjustment of length. Now, the leather widens at the center with an additional piece attached to the inside to form a chin cup. And it is attached to the helmet by two pieces of leather here with brass hooks on the end, which hook directly through the holes on the shell. There is one on either side that you see here. Alright, now let's move on to the interior of the helmet. Let's get this head off. Move the chin strap out of the way. First thing you'll probably notice is this giant one-piece rubber liner here. Now, stated in the Life magazine article, the liner was actually designed by Mr. Edwards' wife while he designed the helmet itself. So the liner is one piece, thick at the front and the rear, with the center being narrow and thin to accommodate the wearing of a headset. You can see probably where the headset will fit on the left and right side, the earpieces to the headset. Now, liners were made by Firestone and BF Goodrich, which makes sense considering that they do manufacture tires. So something rubber like this will probably be manufactured by them. On some helmets, you could see their ink stamps on the inside, along with a McCord stamp. This one does not have any. But all Mark IIs will have the following stamps. A Mark II stamp at the front, and a US Navy stamp right here at the rear. These will all be ink stamps. They will not be stamped into the steel. All right. Now, something to note about the liners, as they were glued on and not removable. Over the years, the glue may have begun to separate, meaning that on many of the ones that you see for sale, the liner and the shell would be more or less separated. You'll probably see cracks. On this one, luckily, it is not separated. It's actually still firmly attached. And on some instances, you'll see only the shell for sale. The liner would have fallen off completely. If you want a complete example for your collection, I would advise you not to buy the shell. Chin straps are very common. You'll always see them on eBay, new old stock. These are very easy to find. But loose liners, I've never seen any. So you could buy a helmet with the liner, no chin strap, and buy the chin strap separately. But if you get just the shell, good luck getting the liner. Now, there was a time when helmets such as these were extremely underappreciated by the collecting community, and they could be found in surplus stores for pretty much under $50 complete. Yeah, those days are long gone. The prices of these have risen dramatically, as is pretty much all military surplus helmets and collectible helmets. These helmets were featured in some of the recent films that have things to do with the US Navy. You'll see them in the HBO's The Pacific. And so pretty much if you're thinking about getting one, I would say a fair price for these right now would be between $200 to $300. Rarely you might see them go for a bit under, but over $300, don't even think about it. It's too expensive. But yeah, I do think it is my personal opinion that the prices will continue to go up and may even go up faster than M1s, just because of how many M1s were produced compared to the numbers of these that were produced. but that is my personal opinion. I could definitely be wrong. Now, original period photos of these helmets in use by the US Navy are pretty easy to find online. Simply type it up in Google and you'll have many photos of sailors wearing these. But period videos, not so much. Now, I did a bit of searching online. I was trying to look for some period videos to include with this video here, and I found a nice 1944 dated US Navy training film on the Landing Craft Infantry Large, the LCIL. And here I'm going to include a couple clips that I got. If you want to watch the full video, I'll put the name and a link in the description. And here you go.
And the engineering officer in charge of guns number 4 and 5 aft of the conning station. There being no officer forward by gun number 1, it is commanded by the gun crew captain. All the guns are controlled by megaphoned orders from the conning station. These orders are supplemented by telephone connection through talkers. The communications officer leaves his station on the gun deck and handles the phones on the conning station, checking with the engineering officer at the stern anchor and the exec, who is in charge of the ramp party forward. He then passes the word to the skipper that all stations report manned and ready.
Now, something interesting to end the video with, towards the end of the second clip I included, the communications officer has his Mark II helmet on backwards. Alright, I'll probably put a screen grab right here so you guys can see. Now, I've not seen any other photos, videos, or documentations on this practice. I know that certain helmets were intended to be worn either way, like for example the Italian M33, but correct me if I'm wrong. Never heard about that with the Mark II. Now, I guess we could try to turn this around, and I guess it does work. Here, I'll put the chin strap behind the head, and I guess you're just left with a much larger visor, so I guess maybe more protection. But yeah, if you guys can shed some light on this, please leave a comment down below. Now, I'm not sure if this is an official practice, but I mean, to have been included in a training film, I think this probably would have been done to some degree. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll probably be uploading new videos on a monthly, maybe bi-monthly basis, but no promises. I'm pretty busy. But yeah, being a collector of World War II military, some of these videos will be on World War II era items, others may be from different time periods. But if you have any advice, leave it down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and click subscribe. Thanks again for watching.